Welcome back to episode 177 of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What's going on, dude?
And on the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
And finally, today we have Xinyi from satting.io, the CMO. Thank you for joining us, Xinyi.
Thanks for your guys' invitation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Whenever we started to dive deeper into the rare sat, I guess, paradigm shift of where this building for Bitcoin space is headed, we're always looking for the next new thing, right? So right. At the very beginning, we were kind of like we didn't really understand the value proposition at first. But once we looked deeper into it and we started to see platforms like yourself emerge, like, all right, this is enough validation, at least for me personally, to start paying closer attention. So thank you so much for, I guess, kind of like being the first one to join us to help us understand a little more clearly where is the potential, right? So if you can, just give us a background of how you got involved in this space to begin with. And what is it about rare sats that made you decide to work on satting?
I can first briefly introduce myself. I have done several projects before entering satting. The first project is to build financial models to hedge impermanent losses on Uniswap. Then I worked on a DID project and airdrop tutorial project. Also helped my set hunter friends to sell his real sets before the marketplace of satting opened. That's why I know Rainer and entered satting later. Our founder Rainer, he has many experience in technical developing. He is a very talented developer and have done many projects before, such as building wallets, blockchain explorers, public chains, and DEX, and so on. We do setting.io, this platform, because I think because we think ordinals is we trust the value of ordinals and real sats, and I could send you the link of some catalogs of the real sats. For example, uncommon sats, it is the first set of each block, and the number is limited, so the value will be higher than other common sets. And also some other kind of sets like pizza sets you mentioned before, and some sets like rare sets. Rare set is the first set of each difficulty adjustment period, and the epic set is first set of each halving epical. And also pizza set is set from the 10,000 Bitcoin used to purchase two pizzas on 2010. And this story is quite famous, and these sets have their own rules and stories behind them. It's quite valuable and interesting. And for each set, they have their set numbers and the set names and the date it was mined. And for example, if you want to find a set that was uncommon set and the date is your birthday, it may be more valuable for you. It's just a simple example. We built this platform because recently the instrument fundamentals not can't I think the fundamentals can't satisfy the demand now. Just an example. Recently, no Bitcoin wallets can identify real sets. So when you want to transfer Bitcoin, you may mistakenly transfer the real sets outside to the miners or to others because it would be identified as common normal sets. Yeah, so when you are using ordinals wallet like Unisat or Express, you need to pay attention, or you could use the function it named safe send in our platform to secure your resets. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah,
that answers the question. So when you were spending your development time and your resources on Ethereum, what was it about ordinals and the whole Bitcoin ecosystem that you guys decided to kind of switch and kind of focus on what's happening on Bitcoin?
First of all, it's because the stories in Bitcoin, I think, is more sexy than in Ethereum. I think, yeah,
okay,
because there are so many Bitcoin users, right? And
sorry,
also,
TJ.
I think ordinals, ordinals just this stack just give Bitcoin the ability to be the data storage. I think you could inscribe no matter pictures, videos, voices, any kind of data on Bitcoin. Yeah, but I think it's still very new, and because there is no limit in inscribing any kind of stuff. So, and also Bitcoin is a Turing incomplete chain, and there is still some centralized, I think, data resolution stuffs here, but it has large potential. I think Bitcoin ecosystem. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we totally agree. So I guess the decision was primarily around the fact that there's hundreds of millions of Bitcoin holders, and essentially it was just a bigger market size and something that was happening that was new that brought your attention to Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we spent a lot of time, like if you've been watching our podcast for the last 4 years, we've been mainly talking about Ethereum, and we've been building in the Ethereum space as well. And as soon as we discovered ordinals back in February or March timeframe, I mean, we were hooked.
Yeah,
like pretty much instantly.
Yeah, even though there wasn't, I mean, there were some indicators of obviously a market forming, right?
Yeah.
But definitely nothing in comparison to what we've seen, like as far as like value extractability,
Right.
like on Ethereum builder ecosystem. But of course, I think anybody who's like laying these primitive platforms or standards of today, I think we all have a common shared vision of like the future.
Yeah.
Of like, because we all understand Bitcoin, it's, you know, its origins is always being the number one legacy chain.
Yeah.
That nothing's ever going to take that away.
Right. Right.
You know, it is probably the most immutably secure,
Yep.
you know, data storage layer, like you're saying. So now the thing that's kind of emerging, and it's really standing up above already those like innately understood value propositions to building on Bitcoin. It's now the new, what we categorize as something we like to call digital matter theory, which is this shared attempt, all of us like Bitcoin developers, finding something innately present within the Bitcoin block information and identifying patterns around this and trying to extrapolate new value from it, which I think is what's so interesting about these rare sats. These things have always existed, right? And the 13, 14 years, however long.
They have always been been in existence, but they weren't identifiable until the ordinals protocol.
Correct. They didn't have any nobody was actually identifying anything of substance between each individual one, right? That was the ordinals theory all of a sudden gave like a reason to, I guess, attribute value to these individual units. So it is interesting what we're seeing with that. And we're developing whole new value layers. And
So Xinyi, when was the transition actually occurring from when you guys were focusing on Ethereum to Bitcoin? Did you know that there were rare sats just by understanding like the ordinal theory, Or how did you come to understand rare sats was like a thing to focus on and spend development time on?
Mm-hmm.
Initially, we read the white paper of ordinals.
Mm-hmm.
It's the promoter Casey.
Mm-hmm.
He first gives the definition of some kind of rare sets, like uncommon sets, rare sets. He gives the definition of the first block. The first set of each block is the set of the first block is the uncommon set. He gave such kind of definitions, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 definitions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think I could send the link of his white paper, and you could check. He
Sure.
gave definitions of common set, uncommon set, rare set, epic set, legendary set, and the mythic set.
Mm-hmm.
And after we reading this white paper, we think it's an opportunity. And around us, there are also some smart guys. They become set hunters. They go to the exchanges like Binance, Transact. They go to hunt that kind of set.
Mm-hmm. So what?
Yeah.
Can you explain the process of sat hunting? Like,
Yeah.
how does that work? And
Yeah.
who do you need to talk to like get these rare sats?
Actually, one of my friend, he is a rare set, and also the founder of another exchange named Quarry. He is also a set hunter initially, and we met these kind of guys, and we built a platform initially just for just for identify the rare sets. It means if you want to search if in your wallet there is any rare sets or uncommon sets, you could use setting.io, use our platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And we also provide some APIs to the set hunters, that kind of developers. The process of set hunting like this. First, they use their own Bitcoin, for example, 30 Bitcoin, and they search, scan their wallets to check if there are any uncommon set or rare set in their wallet, and then extract this kind of set to another empty wallet, and then put this Bitcoin to the SEX, the exchanges, and then wash the Bitcoin, and then extract all the Bitcoin out, and then scan his wallet again and extract uncommon sets or rare sets out. And our platform initially provides such kind of two services. One is helps them to check if any kind of uncommon rare sets in their wallet, and they could also use our platform to extract the rare sets out to another wallet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's our initial services, and later we also provide some rare sets inscribing services, and more like marketplace. You could buy rare sets and sell the rare sets you hunted before.
So basically, there's a couple of ways. So the first thing, if you want to be a sat hunter, is just check your own wallets, right?
Right.
Look for rare sats there.
But if you have like a wallet with, not much Bitcoin,
yeah, you're not
the probability of finding anything of notoriety is pretty small.
Yeah, pretty low.
So at the moment, this is definitely like a whale game, right? You would have to move large volume of Bitcoin in and out of these exchange wallets, right? And then to check a larger pool, right? It feels very similar to like early gold mining, like actual gold,
Yeah.
physical gold, where you would go into a river bank
Yuck.
and like dump, I don't know, like a little sifter, right? You're
Yeah.
like sifting through all the mud until you find like this, you have all these rocks, right? But one little tiny speckle
Yeah.
shining more than the rest. Like, hey, that might be more valuable,
Yeah.
right? Just because it shines a little bit more than the rest of these, earth elements.
True.
So let me extract that manually and put it into a pile of
So
other rare earth
I
material.
guess an exchange is basically a huge pile of dirt, and then you're just
Yeah.
like extracting.
Right.
You're extracting a little bit of dirt, and then
Yeah.
you're sifting through it, and then you're just kind of like exchanging the dirt.
I think that's like the best parallel. It's to kind of like understand what's actually happening, right?
Yeah.
Are we accurate in that analogy assessment, I guess?
Does that make sense, Xinyi?
Yeah, exactly. It's similar. Yeah, similar ways.
But the platforms that you're
explain
building,
it very,
you're providing the tools to do this, right? You are building the sifter and the extractor, like you're saying. So, is there any way that you could foresee, like, I guess, more people getting involved in this sat hunting process? Maybe not necessarily don't have the financial means to, play this type of scenario out.
Actually, I think the best period to be a set hunter has passed because recently many valuable sets have already been extracted by many set hunters. And especially uncommon sets and rare sets. I think most of these kind of sets have been hunted. And also there are some new rules appearances. For example, black set, the rule of it is the last set of each block, and it is a new rule, and maybe there is some chance for hunting that kind of sets. Many rules will be appeared with time going by, and there are still many potentials.
Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel? We also built Inscribe, the first inscription platform built from the ground up for the metaverse on Bitcoin. Connect your bitmap ordinals and use our tools to bring your community into the virtual realm. Support us by joining the movement at mscribe.io. Like, comment, and subscribe for the latest alpha. Back to the video.
Yeah.
When you say rules, basically you mean like a new attribute, right? Like some new
identification.
Yeah, something that people. I don't necessarily. Yeah, what is the process of that? What's the threshold of like somebody introducing a new, vertical of a new attribute, and who gets to agree, or is there like some consensus around whether or not this thing is worth hunting, or it's just some individual proposes it and then it's up to them to form like market demand, and they do their own extraction as a result? Like what is the process you've seen to adding new attributes
rule
into the population? Yeah.
Actually, recently our process is still quite loose. When there is some voices in our community appears, and we will check that kind of rules, and we may edit it. But we know we need to build some process, some rules to accept that kind of new attributes.
Yeah.
And I think we would talk to some other projects and to find a better way to accept such kind of new rules, because there are really too much, I think, if we don't set some process, some regulations about that kind of things. There would be hundreds or thousands rules in the future. And yeah, but recently still the community's voices will influence us. And if more people mention about that kind of attribute, we will add it.
I see.
That's
the invisible hand at play once again.
The market,
it would make sense. But yeah, because what is the big technical dilemma? It's indexing, right? Like all this needs indexing support, just like everything else in ordinal. So if people are proposing or trying to create markets out of, I don't know, some new rule, the indexers all need to kind of agree and understand. Like we all need to be looking for these things to enable a new sat hunting, I guess, vertical. Okay.
So
we need to be neutral.
Xinyi, I got another question. So when it comes to like rare sats, are we to the point in I guess the maturation or kind of like the growth where the miners really control the new supply? Do they control everything? Do you have to basically buy these satoshis off of the miners, or you know, are they just like disregarding this whole market right now?
Actually, I think everyone could be sat hunters. Just as I said before, you could just check your own wallet and extract the rare sats, and then watch the Bitcoin to the Binance or other stacks and extract the other valuable sats by yourself. But actually, as I know, many sat hunters, they have already stored many uncommon sats and valuable sats. And yes, but the price, I think it will be decided by the demand. And there are many, recently there are more supply than demand. So I think the price is still not such high as the beginning. I think as the beginning, I remember the price of each uncommon set. The price was over 1,000.
Okay.
But now the price is about 300 euros. So the price is getting lower and depending by the market. And we also have our own marketplace could let any person, any people to list their rare sats and buy rare sats. So anyone have chance to sell rare sats and anyone have chance to buy rare sats. So it's public and trustless marketplace, and it's kind of transparent, I think. Could unlike the early stage, there was only OTC marketplace, and people don't know what exactly the market price is. But now, you could see the floor price of each kind of set, and it depends by the demand and supply.
It makes sense because right now there's over 19 million Bitcoin already mined, and so there's only less than 2 million left. So whatever's left, if the miners hold on to it, it really doesn't matter because there's so many other Bitcoin out in circulation that you know, it doesn't really affect the price all that much.
So really, it's in the hands of these early hunters, right? And you're saying a lot of these super valuable sats have already been extracted, or at least like a large, a notable percentage of the existing supply. So what are the potential risks of that? If there's if the supply introduction of these rare sats is in the hands of a few actors, you know, for the foreseeable future of this market, however it ends up maturing and evolving into the future, how is that going to affect, sentiment, market sentiment? Just because same thing as like people are always afraid of any token supply being a little too centralized as far as like, a few holders. On. Yeah. Is there any risk of that? Do you hear that from the community? People are maybe putting pressure on some of these early rare sat hunters to maybe figure out some sort of mechanism to distribute their control on the market. You know what I mean? Has any of that been discussed?
Yeah, but actually there are many set hunters. I think it won't be influenced by one or two set hunters, but there are already many set hunters in the market. And actually, I think they can't because just as I said before, the demand recently is less than the supply, and the demand has much more power than the set hunters.
Yeah.
If the whole demand can't increase, and no matter how large voices they have, they can't influence anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It depends on the market itself.
So how do you foresee some ways to generate, I guess, market demand? What's the utility of some of these? Because we're seeing some artists are starting to, I guess, inscribe instead of just using any other like regular sat. They're using a rare sat to inscribe artwork, right? And therefore, the collection is deemed more valuable as a result, right? Are there any other utility prospects outside of that, the art market, or is this just where it is right now?
Yeah, actually, we also provide inscribing services, and it's mostly it's artists. They use these kind of functions. They inscribe their art, their pictures, or some singers they will inscribe their voices on their sets.
That's cool.
Of course, it's the raw material is much more valuable than other kind of sets, and I think it could be understandable because just like in Web 2 or Web 1, in reality life, if you want to paint a picture, paint something, and the papers and the raw materials will also influences the values. Yeah. And also, yeah, for some arts, I think recently it influences more artists to use these kind of services. And initially, many NFT projects, they first use Ethereum to launch their collections, NFT collections. When ordinals comes, they tend to launch their collections to Bitcoin. And now when rare sets become more popular, they use rare sets to inscribe their collections. Also, we will have a launchpad function. I think next month maybe. It's also the demand of some artists. Yeah, they asked setting to provide such kind of services to their community, because some of their community members, they want that kind of picture to be inscribed on the set he selected. And we will provide such kind of things in the future for them. I think the demand is coming more, and it's more popular than several months before, I think, at least.
Sure.
For some artists, yeah.
So,
and I think
yeah, I had another question. So when it comes to in 2022, 2021, everyone saw this mania that was occurring with NFTs, and all of it pretty much was, essentially a bunch of artists coming up with, picture projects And a lot of it was essentially, arbitrary. It was just a random set of, 10,000 NFTs, and then you just put your pictures on there, and then you sold them out. And what we're seeing with rare sats is the same artists are coming to Bitcoin, and they're basically inscribing their pictures on top of these rare sats, giving it some sort of provenance in like its positioning on top of Bitcoin. And what Iman was talking about earlier with digital matter theory is like this new, it's not a new concept. It's more of like a recognition of something that humans have been doing for hundreds of thousands of years. It's just recognizing patterns. Just like Casey Ruddimer recognized the pattern of like the sequential entrance of Bitcoin into the ecosystem. And a lot of people are seeing value in like the rare positioning of a Satoshi, right? I think what's happening now with artists is that they're leveraging that value proposition for their art. And this whole concept of a digital matter theory is the application of I guess data from Bitcoin's blockchain being applied to a project, right? And so we want to kind of talk to you about that a little bit, just to kind of give you like an overall picture of like this whole digital matter theory. And because what this could do is, just like artists are applying their art on top of rare Satoshis, they can apply the same art on top of patterns on top of Bitcoin. And I feel like that's a new sort of like value proposition that artists can take advantage of, that could lead to, non-arbitrary tokens, as we say. So yeah, that's just kind of like a depiction of what we're seeing with like the whole market and rare sats. I think a bigger picture is going to form where people are applying the same artistry on top of like, different patterns outside of rare Satoshis.
Yeah. And I think ultimately what's so cool about what's happening with rare sats and artists leveraging these new, I guess, sources of digital matter creation, it's another onboarding mechanism for a community, right? It's not just, now I'm not just allured by the art and the aesthetics of it by itself,
right?
As we were in 2021 with NFTs, right? Now we have, like I said, some on-chain provenance to kind of link our communities with one another. It's another alignment mechanism, right? Not just, oh, we all like monkeys, right? And these monkeys in particular look very boring. So we're all aligned in like this cool culture of that, right? Now it's like, okay, these boring monkeys can now be attributed to, I don't know, some other rarity component that exists on chain because of these rare sats. And now we have two, I guess, marketing vectors that can kind of, attract a new user base as a result. Right?
Yeah. So Xinyi, do you believe that the whole mania that we saw on Ethereum with picture projects, do you think that can happen again, but on top of Bitcoin with, potentially rare sats being a part of the conversation?
Yeah, definitely. We believe that's why we built setting.io. Yeah, we think it would be a future that many NFT projects will move their way from Ethereum to Bitcoin and even to rare sats this area. We think it's a future, and we think Bitcoin ecosystem will be a new story in next bull market. We bet on that.
Yeah, I think we're taking the same bet as well, because you said it's new story is one obvious reason. Something we're always looking for the newness, right? What is the new thing developing in this Web3 space? But also just, there is more, I guess, intuitive value to something that's actually stored on chain as opposed to something that's pointing to some, off chain storage.
IPFS or a server.
For whatever reason, that was, I guess, that was the ethos of the time, and that's what took off. Those types of standard frameworks were adopted by developers, and that community accepted it. And then the retail masses kind of came in without really understanding how the internal workings of all these digital assets, how they worked.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, now will this be like a main focus, like to the new demographic that onboards during the next bull cycle? Is it going to be more like we have to educate the public a little bit more to kind of have a little bit more appreciation to on-chain storage, right?
Yeah, instead of teaching everybody about non-fungible tokens, they're going to be teaching everybody about artifacts.
Yeah, what does that mean though? It's just another word. It's like
I guess the teaching is the fact that it's on Bitcoin rather than some server or
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is going to be part of that effort for sure. I have another question about, because obviously this is very useful and cool and new for like the NFT sector and like, you know, art, music, whatever creative mind wants to leverage blockchain for, right? What about like can these because there's a large existing supply to some of these rare sats, right? Like the pizza ones.
Mm-hmm.
How many Bitcoins were transacted?
Like 4 quadrillion or 10,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah, and then there's
10,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
10,000 Bitcoin, and there's 100 million sats per Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So that number of like existing pizza sats must be like tremendous.
Yeah.
So is there so whenever I think big numbers, I think fungibility, right? I started thinking about, can we leverage this to create like a new fungible token environment? Have you seen any projects kind of like try to do that? Is there an opportunity for that? Like, you know, I want to create a game. And I want my existing, you know, GameFi token economics to be surrounded by however many pizza sats, like, you know, that are existing or something like that. Have you seen any kind of abstraction of this concept?
Yeah, actually, I think, course, the number is quite large, and I think it's doable. I think it's doable. Course, every set they could be fungible tokens. Actually, Bitcoin, its algorithm is UTXO, and with the ordinal stack comes out, I think maybe the future algorithm will be based by SAT, each SAT, because it's the minimum unit of each Bitcoin, right?
Interesting.
Yep, I think it's doable. Attribute.
That's interesting. So the UTXO algorithm is going to you think is going to change to a SAT based algorithm, or is that part of the roadmap for I guess the ordinals theory?
Course, the basic of our platforms, we could manage each set actually.
Okay.
Actually, we have done that kind of things, and you could select the specific set to inscribe stuffs on it, and you could even inscribe more than one set on the specific set you selected.
Okay.
And also you could choose a set to secure it. Yep, I think the future would come, and actually, I think one of our friends have talked to the ordinal core team, and they are also developing such kind of stuffs. And in the future, maybe the index will not only located by the inscription number or inscription ID. Maybe in the future it might be located on the sets number. Maybe it's a future. Yeah.
Okay. Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel?
We also built MetaZone, the first app store for the metaverse.
Buy, sell, and explore a new class of digital assets like our flagship game Rovi.ai.
Support us by collecting your digital assets through MetaZone at metazone.io.
Like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated.
Back to the video.
So can you give me a percentage of all the rare sats that are recognized? What's the percentage of them being actually extracted and in circulation as a rare sat versus it being locked up in some bunker at Coinbase?
Percentage. I think you could use a website named Lumisat.
Okay.
You could find they in these platforms they find some hot wallets of some sects like Binance, OKX, Coinbase or more, and they would check the total number of these hot wallets of these assets, and the number, I think, not much. I think most of the uncommon sets of the hot wallets were already extracted before, and maybe the chance of some set hunt maybe is to extract some new rule sets like black sets or sets. Yeah.
So I see.
The specific percentage, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a bigger chance that you'll find sats that are sort of like part of the new rule set, like a black sat, rather than an uncommon sat, which was early recognized by Casey Rodarmor, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I was curious as like what the percentage was, simply because I wanted to see like how big the market size was at least for now. Because I know that there's going to be artists coming into Bitcoin and they're going to want non-arbitrary sort of value propositions. And leveraging rare sats is like a no-brainer. So I wanted to see like, is there a high supply or a low supply? But I don't know if it's like, easy to determine. Okay, so
it's going to be interesting to see this. I guess the real interesting experiment happening here is to see, I guess, the dynamics of how new rule sets I think emerge.
Yeah.
And like the narratives that are formed around that, right? Because it's completely arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
I'm just some guy. I understand there's a lot of sats out there, and there's already an existing pool of rarity attributions that were established either by Casey or I don't know, some organization that has a lot of push or whatever. But I'm some guy, and I want to be a part of this, and I want to create a cultural movement too.
It's like if you like the number 6, you could use the 6 satoshi, right?
Yeah, why not?
Of every block, the 66 satoshi, the 666, and you just keep going, and then all of a sudden you create a project around that.
Yeah, we're the 6 gang. Here's
right? Yeah,
and you can like I said, this is now we have a community pool, right? I also like a 6.
Yeah.
let me build an art project. I don't know. They're actually like 6s.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like that's gonna be the funness of like seeing this whole thing, I guess, play out.
Yeah,
right?
And there's a lot of numbers out there.
That's right. So you can do this over and over and over
again. You got up to 100 million per Bitcoin. So
we're already calling it right now like a numbers market.
Yeah.
Well, like a number specific, I guess, niche market with like their own niche cultures.
Right.
Probably will emerge from this, and it's gonna. I guess like what's missing? Do you think from the infrastructure side to enable? Because we're kind of like trying to formulate like a mania scenario.
Yeah.
Where anybody could come in, identify a sattribute that they like, and quickly spin up some new digital value on top of that and build a culture around that. How much more infrastructure is needed from platforms like yourself or others collectively to enable this envisioned mania?
I think not only numbers, but also names. Actually, for example, if you want to set a maybe collection or attribute which contains, for example, love or Bitcoin, the set name contains love or Bitcoin, it must be popular. Yeah.
So,
and so what?
I was gonna say. So is there any other infrastructure pieces that you see that are going to be important? As far as like what's left to be built for rare sats?
I think the important infrastructures, the most important is to I think is wallet functions.
Okay.
We are actively talk to some Bitcoin wallets, want they to accept the some real sets, in some real sets identifying functions. We could provide API for them actually, but we have talked to experts, but they are worrying there might be too many new rules. Yes, if they are using that kind of outside API or they build such kind of features, they're afraid that too many new rules would be entered. And yeah, it's a huge problem because it's entrance for users to use and manage that kind of sets. So recently, our users, they use our platforms to manage their set and transfer their assets. And later, we will provide, just as I said before, launchpad functions, and also will think a way to make all the indexes, make all the platforms be more decentralized. We are also looking for some other layer 2 resolutions to solve the tooling incomplete problem of Bitcoin.
Sure.
Yeah, just as other BRC20 marketplace, they are finding different ways like zero knowledge, something like DLC, some layer 2 solutions. We are also finding such kind of ways to make our marketplace more decentralized. Also, recently our marketplace is still peer-to-peer market. We maybe in the future we will find a way to build a liquidity pool just like Uniswap. Yeah, that's might be our features. But recently, maybe next month, yeah, we will public our launchpad functions, just one step by one step.
Sure. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about this launchpad. So if I were to launch, a picture project and I wanted them all to be on uncommon sats, do you provide the uncommon sats for me and I pay for them, or do I need to bring uncommon sats so that I can use your platform to inscribe on top of them?
You can choose your own uncommon set, or if you don't have uncommon set, you could buy uncommon set in our platforms. Actually, our launchpad rules, it will not restrict the set you selected. It means you could select your own set or the set you bought from our platforms, or you just use common set.
Okay.
It depends on users themselves. We just, the NFT projects, they give us a white list of the wallet address, and we just select the wallet address, make sure they have the permission to inscribe the NFT pictures on the sets they selected, no matter it's uncommon set or rare set, or it's just a set on his birthday. Yep, he could select any set he wants and get this NFT picture.
I see. That's interesting. So it just so you're creating a platform that allows me as a user to select whichever sat that I want to use, whether it's my birthday or an uncommon sat. I can just select which ones I want to use, and then it inscribes onto that satoshi.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I like that. I like that because now it opens up the opportunity for anybody to use any satoshi that they want for any reason that they want, and kind of leverage a tool like the one that you're creating to kind of build a project off of that. So I think that's going to be one of those mania enablers, right? That could lead to, tons of people like using your platform to inscribe specific content onto specific satoshis. So that's really good. So you said in about a month that's going to be ready?
Yeah, Rainer is developing this function. I think at the end of this month or next month, it will be public, this function.
So when do you think the next mania is going to occur? Does it follow the Bitcoin's cycles, like the 4-year cycles, or do you think it's extending?
Oh, can you repeat the question again? I didn't hear it clearly.
Sure. When do you think the next Bitcoin mania is going to occur? Is it going to be, is it still cyclical every 4 years, or is it going to extend longer for the next bull run?
Actually, we expected the bull market will appear at the end of 2024 or the beginning of 2025.
Okay. Okay.
It might appear in 1 year, but just our expectation. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are predicting the same thing, even us. I think
which is worrying for some reason.
Is it?
I don't like when everybody's like thinking the same thing. I feel like the market always tends to try and like do the inverse of that. I don't know, but I've said that I think before. It's like there's no way this rhythmic
4-year cycle.
This thing just continues on. I said that before the last one, but then it happened again. And here I am again, like there's no way it's gonna happen again, and then I'm pretty sure it will. Right? It's just because at the end of the day, the whole entire industry is dependent on.
Well, here's the thing, it kind of has to in a small way, because miners have already spent so much money on their infrastructure.
Yeah,
they can't have the price of Bitcoin stay the same, right? It
right.
needs to grow, otherwise they'll turn off their miners. And
yeah, I mean, there's that. So yeah, I guess there is like the economics of Bitcoin itself that almost ensures every 4 years. Something's got to give.
Something, yeah.
In order for
it's either they turn off miners, or
and this whole thing just comes crumbling down, or it just maintains,
or it keeps growing.
But one thing's for sure: every single time this 4-year period comes back, there has to be a new these tertiary narratives outside of just Bitcoin's 4-year cycle that generates enough market sentiment.
But here's the thing with this cycle with Bitcoin and ordinals, I think we're gonna see something that we've never seen before. With Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean that is the reason why we're so involved in this space, because obviously Bitcoin is entering uncharted territory where like the macroeconomic side isn't. I think this is its first true test. Can it perform favorably whenever like the macroeconomic situation is as bad as it was during its origin period back in 2008, right? I don't think Bitcoin has really tested those waters, but with the help of ordinals and this whole ecosystem emerging, right? I guess it gives it a better shot. It's not. It's no longer just will Bitcoin be a safe haven asset in the event of institutional finance dilemmas and stuff like that.
Right.
There's also it's operating like a computer layer similar to Ethereum, right? Computational layer. Yeah. And I think that new narrative might be enough to keep it up during these downtimes, right?
Yeah.
Or at least that's our hope and that's our thesis.
I think so.
I don't see anything else out there on the horizon that's going to, I guess, attribute to that. Again, the market sentiment that needs to exist every 4-year period, right? So the all the work that you're doing with Satting.io and the whole RareSat community, anybody building really for ordinals, and not even just anybody building on top of Bitcoin, right? You got stamps.
Yeah,
you got ORCs. There's a lot of, and pretty soon we're gonna have, I guess, Taproot assets with Lightning Network and
Lightning
all this.
Network. Yeah.
So
stacks.
Yeah, we all have a collective, I guess, responsibility to, I guess, contribute to this thesis. Otherwise, I mean, we're screwed.
Yeah, or wrong. We could be wrong too.
Wrong?
Wrong in the sense like the mania occurs on Ethereum all over again.
Oh yeah,
that's what TJ's kind of pushing for.
All my eggs are in that basket.
Well, I guess it's a wait and see, dude. So, but I can't wait to see some more projects to start to, I guess, launch. So the launch pads are obviously critical.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in NFT days, things didn't really take off until all of a sudden everybody was launching a 10K PFP project.
Yeah.
Right. And the countdowns were there.
The same websites, copy paste.
The marketing hype unveil of the art collections was all there. Everybody was doing it. It was a formula, right? That the industry kind of adopted, and we saw many variants of basically the same
Yeah.
formula, and that's what created a market, and it was very attractive and alluring to a mainstream demographic. So
Yeah.
we're gonna need these launch pads for sure, and we're gonna need projects, I guess, to line up and figure out new ways to utilize them. So I mean, we definitely want to help you guys once we're getting closer to launch. Definitely reach back out to us so we can, get some people, I guess, into the pipeline, right? Because we're focused on the metaverse side.
Yeah.
With bitmaps. I'm not sure if you've heard of the bitmap ecosystem that is emerging also on top of ordinals. And I don't know if it's been figured out exactly how to utilize rare sats for even the maturation of the metaverse.
I think what you could do. So Xinyi, you mentioned parent-child inscriptions earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you could do is use the parcels of a bitmap be inscribed on rare satoshis.
We have already provided such kind of stuff for bitmap, actually. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I should send you our document, and
Yes, please.
you could see instructors of how to use setting to inscribe your parcel
Okay.
bitmap.
That's
Yeah.
actually, we are building a platform for parcel inscribers, so that would actually be a very valuable value add for our platform.
Yeah, Sydney, do you guys offer APIs or something that we can connect to help identify satoshis, or is that do you guys provide APIs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we provide not only APIs for identifying, but also for inscribing services.
Okay.
It's also on our documents.
Okay.
We provide such kind of stuff and want to make more developers and projects to easily use these APIs to easily build their products. We want this process could go faster.
Sure. Okay,
We
that's
have
good.
done something and would like to help others.
Sure. No, that's awesome. That's awesome because, like Iron Man was saying, we tend to focus on like the metaverse side of things, and so we can't really build everything that we want to build just because there's just not enough resources. So we got to leverage these APIs that the community has built, so we can kind of, leverage all the technologies in a way where like users really, can take advantage of. Yeah. And so I think inscribing parcels on rare sats is going to be like a very popular thing to do.
I think so too. It adds another layer because the whole
imagine you had a block, your bitmap of the 10K Bitcoin transaction,
mm-hmm.
and you used all the satoshis, the pizza sats, to inscribe the parcels. Like, I feel like that'd be crazy.
Well, there's only one block, right?
There is one block, yeah.
So only that
person
has the opportunity to do.
But imagine if you had one of those parcels.
That would be freaking cool, dude.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I think any tool we could leverage to again, just to pile on to the on-chain provenance of everything that we're creating digitally. This new digital value renaissance we're building, aka the metaverse. We need to link as much of that as possible to like on-chain provenance because we have the tools and now we have the shared understanding we can do that.
Yeah, agreed.
And we should do that because that is the new thing. It hasn't been done before, and it just adds so much more value to the end product, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah. All right, Xinyi, any last words that you want to kind of share with the community? Any new developments? I guess you have a new release happening in about a month. Any other details that you want to share?
Actually, we have developed the function to help users easily inscribe .bitmap, the parcel ones, in our platforms, and I would send you the link on Twitter. Yeah.
Sure.
Later. And also the API, we have finished building it and could also provide you the document about that. Also, one benefit for your community I think we could provide is to give some discount to your community.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for inscribing and buying no matter any kind of services, just a discount for some service fees.
Sure.
You could generate the wallet address of your community, and the rule is just entering our Discord and follow our Twitter. And we could record this wallet address and give them maybe 5% or 10% discount. We could talk further about that.
That's
Excellent.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have, after this call, we're gonna discuss exactly how we can formalize this partnership. Because this is important.
Yeah.
This is going to again, like, bridge the ecosystems in one way or another, so we can create more cohesion amongst. It's like, we're not just focusing on the metaverse and remaining siloed from everything else that's happening.
Yeah, because we want to support everything that's happening on Ordinals, just because it's extremely interesting. It's something new. There's not a lot of things that happen in cryptocurrency that really capture our attention.
Yeah,
it's been the metaverse, it's been AI, the BitTensor, and then now it's like Ordinals. And so I guess it's rare for us to find something of that much interest. So so I think we're in the right space, Xinyi.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Xinyi, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure talking to you about satting.io. All the links for everything will be in the description below. And thank you so much for joining us, Xinyi.
Thanks for your guys' invitation. It's a very nice talk with your guys, and we could have a further collaboration. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Awesome. All right, Xinyi, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.